tutorial. Today we are going to explain how to create the animation you have just seen. We will be using the node editor, constraints, modifiers. I will also explain how to use the compositor and, for instance, how to render only reflections and shadows in a plane that is not going to be seen by the camera. So we're going to be using also how to link data between different objects, so a bit of everything. Also just some actions, so how to create animations and save them into actions so we can easily put them in the timeline. And for that I'm going to start by removing the camera, because otherwise it's going to be bothering us all around. So here is the starting file. We delete the cube, common practice for Blender render artist. So yeah, that way I just pretend to be an artist. We're going to add a plugin first, add mesh extra objects. It's going to be useful for us to create a new mesh. Then we go to extras, and for instance the gem, we just press the position, and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees in y-axis. We want it to be pointing up. So also we want it to work as a mesh, or we go to units in the settings here. We want it to be metric, so we're going to scale it down, shift Z, and I'm going to scale it a bit down. Now it doesn't look Z. I want it to be smaller, not too small. Okay, so let's add now a cylinder that's going to work as a crystal shape. So we go here to cylinder, and we don't want so many actually, we will stick to 5. Now we are going to pull it up, because otherwise you will see what happens then. Yep, it just goes beyond, well, it's just blocked by Z index. So selecting the X-ray. Now what we want is actually it should be a bit thinner, so we block the Z axis, make it thinner, and we first put the origin to 3D cursor, and again let's just make it slightly smaller, so something like that. I think it will work. Okay, now that we have one of them, I would create maybe a parent for those crystals. To create an empty axis, crystals, we rename it oops, here, and we are going to parent that. We keep the transform, and something I want to do with the crystal actually is to apply the scale. That's something I like to do, because otherwise it might give some issues. You see now the scale says 1. We're going to make the real shape of shard. So for that I will just one, so something like that. Check marks in the center. Oh yeah, now it looks good. And now we can duplicate. So we enable the snapping. We a little bit to this phase, and let's just duplicate some of them. Now it's quite easy. I think that will work. X-ray. Okay, then we have this one here, which is the kind of parent. It's linked to all of them, to the rest of them. And what I actually want is to select hierarchy. We select this one. Let's select again this one. Remove and copy to selected. So none of them is anymore X-ray. And let's just remove this one. I don't like it. We can duplicate this one and rotate it in local axis. X. So coming back to that, we're going to go to cycles. We save the file, And let's add graph editor, node editor, sorry, and we go to world, just nodes for custom. Yeah, here background, and the color is going to be an environment texture. We're going to open it. I will put the link in the description, but well, it's just to show you what I'm adding now. Just this kind of forest image, and I will be rendering in this direction somewhere like this. Okay, and world here, there it is. And you can also change the strength if you find it too dark. Maybe let's put it brighter. Let's add a material to this shard, to not the shard, sorry, to this crystal. And for that we're going to go here, use nodes, and switch back to object. We have a diffuse, which we don't want. It's going to be kind of crystal or glass coordinate. So we add. Let's just in the meanwhile look how it looks. Of course it's black, and now it looks too crystal. Let's say that can, if that's even an option. Let's add some roughness to it, and let's modify the index of refraction so the light goes different to it. So let's lower it a bit to 1.6, and now I want to give it also transparency. So we add the transparent nodes, then we add a mix shader so we can, that way it's easier, and a bit like that, but we still keep it to more glass style. But that I want to keep it kind of greenish because of the environment, just because of the factor it's not very high, and that will be okay. That's it. So let's just keep it to material, and what I would like now is to link all of those. Just select and deselect again. Control L and object data. What we are doing now is linking the materials and everything that was in this object to the rest of them. We go to render, and there it is. You see, now we can see the color of all of them. Don't worry for the noise. Afterwards, increasing the samples, it will look a bit better. Also, you have the noising, and well, anyway, I'm not an expert with that, but that's something just I wanted to have it just as an extract. So let's just put now the material to this mesh here. Let's just go to materials, and let's just it's going to be the gem material, and for that we're going to put it as a glass. We're just going to remove that one. Shards, glass, and put the glass here. Let's just see how it looks. Everything looks too transparent and kind of awkward and ugly, which I don't really like. And then let's just add transparent and a mix to mix both of them. Although mostly it's going to be glass, but it gives a little touch, the transparent shader. And if you add a bit of roughness, it won't be that transparent. Something about 0.4 will do, for instance, something like that. Index of refraction, we move it a bit upper. And what I don't really like is that it's so transparent. Well, the transparency also here, I like to give it a different colors, so something like reds. And I'll just go back to this crystal here and change a bit the roughness. It's not so transparent. Yep, and something like that. transparency, but at least it has its unique color and something maybe roughness about 0.5 or yep, something like that will do it. So now it's a bit of well a mix of transparencies, but that's just okay. And then what we want is another light, a kind of light. Let's see. So we go back to solid, and I'm going to select the bottom node down here and create another vertex group. That's going to be so we can emit only from those vertices here. It's going to have a custom material just for this one. So we name it gem bottom or base or whatever you want to name it. And we got assigned those here. So select the selected already, but we want another material. So we select this one and gem bottom. So we keep the name convention same. And for that one, we are going to add an emission, and the emission, you will see now how it looks. So rendered, yep, you can see here it's a different color, and I don't know, let's just say since the gem is red, red emission, so everything is consistent, something like that. And as you can see, it's already changing the color, so if I disconnect the node it doesn't show up. And actually we want much more strength here, actually something up to 30 even, so it's going to light up everything. So okay, that's the first step. And now what we actually want is the shades, the shards to so those that will be floating and flowing around this shape here. So let's just for now hide the node editor, and let's just work with a mesh icosphere. Where is it? Position. I usually cursor center. That's much better. So we make sure that the line, the horizon, is that the straight line is that one, and then we enable proportional editing. We make it bigger with the wheel of the mouse, and we stick it to the z-axis, something like that. You can give it any shape you want, to be honest. If you want some noise to them, you can add decimate, and then just play with it with those faces. Let's, for instance, keep it like that. And what I would like now is to squash it a bit. Let's say so. First of all, let's just make it smaller. It's way too big, and yeah, I'll just call it X-ray. It's still way too big, to be honest, but something like that will do it. And let's now squash it in X-axis and perhaps in Y-axis a bit up here. They look kind of long. Well, I prefer them to be, yeah, something like that, more like a stone. Okay, that's it for now. Save again, and we disable the X-ray. So that's the first step. Gem can go also to crystals, so parent, keep transform. That's the first step. Then now what we are going to do is create a path for the icosphere, which actually is a shard. This shard, what we want is it to be flowing around. So for that we're going to start by adding a curve. I like the north circle. Let's just do something also. Let's just work in the second layer so we have it clean. And for that, well, we can delete most of them. Just that, delete vertices. So what we want actually to do is to convert, and we want the mesh. So from this mesh, we want to leave only one vertex, to be honest. So we just select this one, we delete all the vertices, and let's just put it for instance here. And Now, since actually it's a mesh, it's just a point, but it's a mesh. Um, Shards. I like to name everything so it's easier to find it afterwards. We add the screw modifier, and with the screw modifier, we have to go back to object. We won't see anything. Why don't we see anything? Well, anyway, that's not so important. And now you can easily play with either the width and also how you want to, well, the difference in between those steps. Something like that seems fine to me. Let's add some additional iterations. Also keep in mind that the more loops you have, the more stones you would need, and so something maybe like that, because also the stone should fit in here. Or that seems okay. Anyway, you can put it up to you. It's up to you. Everything that not so wide. And now that we have that, we're going to apply it. So we have this as a mesh, and now we'll just go back to corp. Perfect. We have a corp now, but something you should notice is that, oops, sorry, I have proportional editing enabled. But otherwise, if I modify, that's actually not changing anything. Well, it's changing the point, but it's not smoothing the point anymore. So I'd like to change this spline type to NURBS, so you can extrude that. Point it to here, control point. So let's just press it this here, and that's already gonna do something. Well, look, notice that the corp is this one. So if you want this to follow the endpoints, you click here. And what I would like is something like a fold. So this one comes up to here, and from here I would like to do something like a cyclic, and you see that creates little this kind of smooth effect. So it's going up a bit and then suddenly falling very sharply, and I prefer it to get almost to this endpoint. So this little I don't know, it's up to you, but I like the shape, to be honest. So this is the curve, and what we need to do now is we go to shard and we move it to the second layer as well, and we will have to start playing a bit with this. We make sure that the origin is here in the same position, and we need to add array. Now it's set to 2, and actually what I want is it to fit to the curve, so something like that. Okay, as we can see, that actually, it's like, does it really fit the curve? So again, this is because of the scale, it's not correct, so we apply rotation and scale, and now that's the real size. So the way we are going to try it with the curve modifier, because if you want to do it with the full path, it adds some extra complexity to it, or at least for me. So I'm more used to this way here. We select the curve again, and well, it looks a bit messy now, to be honest. Also because the shards are way too big to be in here. For now, since we don't actually have that problem, we come in here, we select the shard, this goes to the center, and we are going to scale it down a bit, like that. So I think something like that will do. And let's see what happens with it now. So we re-enable the array, and now it looks, I'm not too happy with the direction of it. I would prefer actually them to first of all to be rotated. So where is this curve? I don't want the curve. So let's just come here back down, and let's just rotate it in Z90 and rotate it in Y90 and in Z180. So now they're actually following the path. I like it much more. Oh, no, but also you can play with the rotations and add a limit to the rotations as well. So let's just try by maybe a little less offset. So we have some more zones, and again, that's a moment when you can play easily with them. Something you can play with now is, for instance, if you select this loop here, you can also those out here. You can make this one kind of bigger. Feel free, but you can easily adjust the curve and keep it to your own taste, let's say, the way you like it. We have to pull up everything together, because otherwise it doesn't match anymore the origin point, and that becomes a problem. So since we don't actually need to apply any modifier yet, something we would need to, we can now do is we are going to add another window. We go back to node editor, and we're going to start by adding a material. So the shard is going to have a different material. We're going to use the principle. Oh, let's just go to render, and we are not seeing the first layer. Now we have much better. As you can see, they're getting a bit the reflections from this emitter. So we change the transmitter. They become a bit transparent, maybe not that much if you don't want some roughness to it, and that's pretty much it. Let's just, I like this kind of color here. So considering that the color is this kind of red, and here it doesn't match that much so much that it's blue, although I really like more the blue, but let's do it a bit orangish. And something we are going to add now is a transparent material, and we are going to mix it. This is just something I was just making up, or I've seen it in some other tutorials. I'm not really sure, to be honest. So let's just mix both of them, and let's add another mix shader, and that's here, that one here, and that's the final result for that. Let's keep it more transparent rather than glossy. Now it's time to set up the camera. So for that I would like to have the whole view. I would like something like that actually. So save and Control Alt 0. So actually let's select the camera and Control Alt 0. So in case we're rendering now, I'm wondering, okay, that's still not that good. So something we can do is, for instance, lock camera. We want to rotate it down, so pull it down and something like that. Okay, and you will say, okay, but why the picture behind is not changing? So for that, well, first of all, we're going to lock this thing here and get closer to the camera, so the frame of the camera is taking more space of the screen. So that's something I like it quite a lot. And then change the sensor size, so we can take also some more part of the environment. And okay, so that's let's go and just go back for a second. Let's get the camera, and I would like to change it a bit more. I'm still obsessed with the more bluish or greenish color. I prefer this side here than the, if we have to choose in the green sides close to the hue, I prefer the upper part that I like. Okay, let's just close this one again, this window. And something we need now, something that I would like, is to add a plane so we can get the shadows. So let's put the plane in the Z0 axis, and that's something, well, we have to rotate it, make it maybe 5 times bigger. Perfect. And you will be like, I don't want the shadows to be painted there, and so lock again. So we go to cycle settings, cycle settings, and here there's shadow catcher, and you will be like, oh, that's magic, but you see, it doesn't really, well, it does something. So if you disable it, the shadow is gone, but I don't really like it. So if you take it out, the object tolerance is too strong. So let's add a texture. Let's add let's take the color, something a bit brownish, and well, this time it should be a bit closer to the grass, and so that the shadows will match of the environment. So like I said, here we have this glow, we have some more reflections, we have better results. So let's go to solid mode. So let's just move everything back to the first layer. It's time to apply the modifiers. Apply the array modifier, but don't apply the curve, because otherwise, if you don't apply the curve, you can move it around and it will follow the path. If you apply it, then you're moving the whole thing. So let's just go back, save the file again, and let's create a parent. Plane axis, Alt G to put it to the center, and it's going to be called shards. We move the shard, we reparent. So once we have it here, now we can separate by loose parts, and we see that all of them are having this curve modifier. So very easily now, if I move it, as you can see, it's moving all around. So now that we have everything in place and ready, we are going to be separating by layers and render layers. So let's just say we need 2 more render layers. This is going to be the ground, and this is going to be the environment. And let's just call it amp. What the amp is going to be doing, just select, for instance, this random here layer and exclude the first 2 layers, because this one is not going to be painting any object but 360 image. Then we have here, there's going to be, there's no need actually to select anything here, but we want to exclude the last one and also exclude the second one. And the second one is going to be this one that it's going to be excluding, and what we don't want is this ground, and render layer to use the environment. So now go to render layer and we go to passes. We need object index, and there's something more we need to do now. We're going to select the whole shards group, the whole no, actually the plane, the reflection, we select the plane, we select the lamp, and we want those to be in the second layer. So we press M, but we want them to stay in the first layer as well, so we click shift and move it to the second layer. So now if we click on the second layer, we still In the third one we would have nothing, but in the two first we have the plane and the light. We're going to select the shards group, and in the object we need to set the past index to 1, but we need to select it to the whole hierarchy. So we select hierarchy, with shift we select the shards group, or select hierarchy, shift, and we deselect this one and select again. So we select, we now put the past index to 1 and right click, copy to selected. So now what we have is that all those objects have past index 1. We do the same with the crystals. So select hierarchy, the temp is there. We will select the first one, and we select again, and this has to be as well the past index 1. We put it to copy to selected, and all of them are keeping this index now. Okay, working good. Now the plane. So the plane needs to have a different past index, so we can plug this afterwards. And that's pretty much it. Now it's time to go to again graph node editor, not to this one, but to render layers. We want to use nodes and backdrop. I like that one because I can click. I click here. Well, it's using the last render. We're going to duplicate this layer and this again. So what we're going to do here, we select this one is correct, render layer. This is the ground, and then here we're going to select the environment L12, and now let's just wait for it to render. So we forgot to select which layers we want to be rendered. So we have to select the second layer and the fifth layer. Actually the fifth is not needed, I think, but otherwise it's going to stay black, so for the ground. So we again we click on render, and I'm going to skip this part. We're going now again to node editor, and what we're going to do here is divide this one by this one. So we add a mix shader. Yep, that one here. Let's just use this mix for now. Actually, that's not even needed for now. So we set this one to divide, and we put here this image, and after dividing we already have the shadows. Weird look, to be honest, but don't be scared, don't worry, it is fine. We're going to add another multiple mix shader. Then here we are mixing these ones, down here image, and we put here multiply. So now we have, well, we have the shadows and also some extra things that we don't want. So for that we're going to add an ID mask, actually two of them. So we mix it, and we're using this value here from index passer that we set before. One of them will be the 1 and the other one will be the 2, the second one. So we're going to filter now the multiplier here. So we have now the shadows. So something I've noticed is that we have to switch those two, and after adding the ID mask, everything seems great. Now you can see here the little reflection. Now we have to add another mixer for the last mask. So we select here those two images. We put the mixer here, and we select this node. So we have this image with the shadows, with the plane that is invisible, and the only last thing would be to animate all that. So we are going to switch to animation. So we're going now to move to action editor. We're going to create a new action, and we're going to name it flow shards, for instance. We make sure that we're adding it to the shard group object, you select it, otherwise you're going to be adding animation somewhere else. And then something that is also necessary is to select the hierarchy and disable the group, the empty parent, and Ctrl Alt Shift C and origin to geometry. So all the origins are aligned in this big and huge line. So now when we are moving this, everything is going to be moving together. So now we're going to save and we're ready to go to frame 1. We have the shards group and we're going to basically add X location translation, but well, yeah, just with the location it's fine. Then there's something we have to do to non-distance that this x-axis has to display to the whole lab. We're going to go here and with the proper view of the whole column, we put the cursor here and to the same object we are going to put bounds. So now we can track easily where this object is, and we will be backwards, so we will be adding backwards, and here it is, so something like 34.5, and we press I again. Here what we want is to hide everything but location and want it to be linear. If we play the animation now, the speed that it goes is this one. In case you want it even faster, let's say, in that case you would press G, then X, you would move this point a bit more to the left, and then you can reset the animation, and you see it goes much faster, but that's not what we want. So this is an action. What we want to do with this action is actually to save it, so we stash, and it's gone. We don't have animation anymore, but that's okay. We just go here and we select the NLA editor. So we have here stashed this animation. So now we are going to add a new track. We have here NLA track and we call it timeline. So to the timeline we're going to shift A and we're adding this shards. So when we play now, playing the whole animation. And what we want is also to duplicate this one. Exactly, this one, this track can be deleted actually. Sub button, and there it is. So what we want now is to make sure that there's it's not noticeable. Perfect, and there it is. So let's just give it a render just to make sure that everything is fine, and there it is. So we make sure you select composite, whatever it's pronounced, and you have the mix of images, otherwise you will have only one layer and so on. So what we have to do now is go to the camera settings. We want to render at 100%, and we want to and then we are going to put the sampling to, well, let's say 256. It might not be needed that much, but since it's the final render, it's okay. And there it is. So we accept, we save it there. And what else has we select also GPU compute, so it will be slightly faster. There we go. We can click on animation and it will just start rendering like forever. In my case, we'll leave it like that, and then that's the final animation. So thanks for watching. Just hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and just feel free to ask any questions you have below, and also comment for any further tutorials if you want any specific one. Don't forget to subscribe to be up to date with all the news and videos that I'm uploading, and click thumbs up if you think some other people should watch this same tutorial. Thank you for watching and see you soon.